Thanks, Jimmy. Everybody can hear me all right?
Hi, Neil.
Okay, good. Hi, guys. I guess I just wanted to first thank you all for being on today. I recognize many of the names on here, and it's an exciting part of my career. But thank you to all of you guys. I got to live out my dream. So on that note, thank you all, like I said, again, for being here, and please fire away with any questions you have.
Hi, Neil. Are we just able to go? Dan or Jim, are you gonna?
You can just go whenever, and when you don't ask a question, if you can just mute your phones or your computers, that'd be great.
Neil, it's Albie. Congratulations on your career and the fact that you're able to do so much, including playing in your hometown. What were you most proud of in your career?
I think that when I was younger and coming up and being obviously very interested in baseball with my dad and my uncle and my brothers, it was ingrained in me pretty early on that I wanted to try to be a baseball player. And of course, a lot of kids say, hey, I want to be a big leaguer growing up. I want to play in the NFL. I want to do that. But it truly, in my mind, there was no other option for me. I wanted to play in the big leagues. I wanted to do everything I could to get there. So, growing up, you sacrifice a lot. You play, you miss a lot of events in high school to be at Saturday tournaments and things like that. But, basically going from a Pirate fan to being in the organization to getting in the big leagues and struggling personally and struggling as a team, and then getting over that hump and having a really solid stretch as a group and as an individual player, and then going on to several other teams and playing pretty meaningful baseball. And I just think about how much goes into a career and what that looks like, and how fun it was. So yeah, I mean, more than anything, it's just I'm proud to sit here and talk to you guys and and say that I have no regrets.
Thank you.
Neil, along those lines, living out your dream with your boyhood team, to hit a walk-off home run on opening day, looking back on that moment, how cool of a life moment was that, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, that was special. And obviously every opening day holds its own kind of significance. And you can't, especially in the clubhouse, when you have veteran guys that are kind of on the back ends of their career, they always tell the younger guys, hey boys, cherish this day. Opening day is the biggest, the most optimistic day of the year for everybody, because it's a clean slate personally and as a team. So when I have highlights of my career that include hitting a walk-off home run, and a couple years earlier hitting a grand slam at Wrigley Field when it's partially snowing down, I have a lot of memories of those opening days. But to do it in Pittsburgh and during a season where there was so much optimism surrounding the team, and to kind of feel like I helped jumpstart the season, that was definitely a significant moment, not just from an individual standpoint, but from a team standpoint, to get the ball rolling on that particular season.
Neil, what's your process for a next move, or where's your head at? Like, what do you want to do now?
So, basically how I got to this point, and obviously yesterday or today was the official retirement. But my thoughts really were stay prepared for baseball through March and through spring training, and if no opportunities arose, then then kind of reassess and see what maybe the next thing was. And honestly, for me, basically this spring, summer, and fall, I'm going to try to not commit to a whole lot. I'm going to try to catch up with my family and with my friends, and and do a lot of the things that I haven't been able to do for a long time, such as go on summer vacation and July 4th and go to Pirate games and have family events that you missed during the spring and summer. So obviously I'm hoping to have an opportunity to sit down with the Pirates people, which, we've had some very general conversations about maybe what could potentially be involved with moving forward, but to speak directly about it there, we're really in the early processes. And like I said, I'm going to take the next several months to kind of play catch up with my life, and then kind of figure out what the next move is moving forward. But yeah, conversations have happened a little bit internally with the Pirates. I'm also just partnered up with a couple people and starting a program called No Off-Season Exposure, which people that live in the North Hills might be familiar with. No off-season in some of the facilities, the turf fields, and we're building this beautiful facility in Russellton, which is basically Deer Lakes. That's going to be basically what looks like a Pirate City complex for all turf fields with lights, 4 soccer fields, and essentially the program that I'm involved in directly will be the baseball exposure program, and we're hoping to have technology on these fields for the high school kids, essentially, to have showcases and to have showcase tournaments with some of the better teams in the area eventually, so that scouts can come and watch in one place and really in a lot of different directions outside of Western Pennsylvania. And being a person that's grown up in this area, I knew how difficult it was to get seen in baseball. And I had numerous trips to Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, all these places that were not particularly easy to get to. So we're hoping to give kids in this area that have the dream of going and playing, whether it's a D3 kid or a kid that maybe not get a college scholarship, to possibly go D3, D2, maybe a major league, potential major league player. We're hoping to give them this opportunity to have all this information at their expense to give them the best opportunity to get seen and to get to that next level. So that's kind of the gist of what's going on, and it's still in the early stages. There's only 2 fields done over there right now, 2 baseball fields and 2 soccer fields. But if any of you ever get a chance to go out there, and I'm sure hopefully we'll get another opportunity to have more conversations with a lot of you about what's going on over there, because it could be a really, really great facility. So in general, I have a little bit of that going on, and it'll be slow to start, but going into the fall and the winter of this next year, I'll probably have several things on my plate. So looking forward to them all.
Neil, how hard was it to come to this decision, and how did you come to this decision to retire from baseball?
I wouldn't say the writing was on the wall per se over the last couple of years, but I think as a guy that was an everyday player coming up and kind of transitioning into a more of a utility role, to be honest, the game is transitioning into a place where a lot of those utility roles are now being taken by guys that are in AAA and maybe their careers haven't taken off, or they've got a cup of coffee and they can play multiple positions and so on and so forth. And when I saw that happening several years ago, that trend started to occur, I thought it was prudent to make sure that I gave my chance at any expense to play first, play second, play third, play some outfield, even throw the catcher's gear on and catch some bullpens every once in a while. So when this past year, actually, the piece that kind of was an for me was when I signed with the Phillies. I knew that offensively they had basically 7 or 8 players that played almost every single day and never really came off the field. But as a bench guy in the National League, I thought that there was a really good opportunity to still stay heavily involved. And when the rules changed from National League to DH, that was kind of an uh-oh moment for me, because I knew that my value in the role that I was going to be asked to do certainly it dwindled a little bit. And we get into September and we'll play a bunch of games in a couple of days, and all of a sudden they needed somebody to bounce in the outfield, and they didn't feel 100% confident with me going out there. So the next move was really to DFA me, and that's when I kind of thought, it may be tough to get a job just for everything coming into this year, just with everything that was going on. So that's kind of how it came to full circle to this point. But like I said, I had my normal off-season baseball routine all the way up through 4 weeks ago. So.
Hey, Neil, you used to kid us a little bit sometimes when we'd be around your locker. You got to get the Pittsburgh guys' perspective on this stuff. I'm just wondering, as you moved around to other teams after you left Pittsburgh, was it a relief at all, or did you not have as much fun as you did playing in your hometown?
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, I don't think maybe there was more than 5 to 10 people in my 3 years in New York that recognized me as a baseball player. And probably half of those people were the doorman at the apartment complex I lived in. So, but to be honest with you, that was kind of nice because my role in Pittsburgh and I relished that role was to kind of be the person that people came to and to to be the guy that understood really everything that came involved with not just Pirate baseball but Pittsburgh sports media and Pittsburgh sports in general. So. Certainly even going to bigger markets like the Mets and the Yankees and the Phillies, my role was a little bit different at those places. It wasn't as much of a out in front leader. It was kind of more of a behind the scenes type of leader. So, but yeah, like I said, there wasn't many moments when I was in New York, and I think the other half of the people were ones that were Pirates fans that lived in New York too. So.
I'm curious, how do you reflect on your time in Pittsburgh? I mean, obviously you guys had a really great run there, especially towards the end, and sort of, was there ever, I mean, the fact that you want to be involved in the organization certainly indicates that everything is cool, but is there a part of you that's wistful that thinks, man, it might've been nice to kind of stick around?
Well, sure. I think as somebody that was drafted by this organization, came up through this organization, in my mind, it would have been amazing to play my entire career for Pittsburgh, but just kind of where baseball is and the economics of things and the business end of it, it's naive to think that 99% of most players that's just not the reality. So that was a harsh reality for me in general, and like you said, I want to stay involved in this organization because I love the people that I was able to work with in all aspects, from coaching to front office to ownership to workers at the field, and something that I felt was very important to me. Like I said, was being part of this organization, but expanding and passing along my wealth of knowledge within the baseball game. And like I said, I've seen so many different aspects. In leaving Pittsburgh, the thing that the perspective it gave me was to see bigger markets. I played for the biggest market, one of the biggest markets in the world, in the New York Yankees, and I played for one of the smallest markets in Miami Marlins, and the Pirates somewhere in between, and the Milwaukee Brewers somewhere in between. So, and I won 100 games. I've lost 100 games. My perspective on baseball has been very vast, and so I feel it's important for me to do what I can to give back where I can. So that's kind of my general thoughts as my career ends here and I move into a different chapter of my life.
Hey Neil, when you and Hanny were watching the game last week against the Padres, what was that like knowing? I mean, that's the first game you're watching now as a former player, and what's that going to be like as a fan or coach or broadcaster or whatever you're going to morph into next?
Well, I actually took my daughter to opening day, and that was really cool. And she's only 4, but I stuffed her full of cotton candy and peanuts and hot dogs and all that. But I remember just sitting there and thinking, wow, this is really cool, and something that I flash back to when I was a senior in high school and was going to baseball games in 2003, going into 2004. So I thought that in my brain, when it did end, that I would have a hard time watching baseball. And actually, I'm looking over my shoulder, and I just watched Andrew's first at bat against the San Francisco Giants. So excuse me if I'm a little looking over, but no, I loved it. I loved sitting there. And like you said, Hanny and I were up in the suite and talking baseball, and it was just so natural. And we talked about back in my day stuff, which is not very long ago, but how the game has changed and how the pitching philosophy has changed, how the hitting philosophy has changed. But like I alluded to a minute ago, we both felt fortunate to kind of live in both of those realms and to play in the 2009, 2010, 2011 when pitching was sinker, slider, changeup. And fast forward 5 years, and now it's throw as hard as you can at the top of the zone with 12-6 breaking balls. So I feel proud that I was able to survive really through a large portion of both of those pieces, because that's the name of the game in baseball is adapting and surviving. And there's only, I call them the 1%ers, the Andrew McCutcheons, the Mike Trouts, like, these guys are able to adapt year in and year out outside of significant injury. And for people like myself that had to grind and continue to adapt and squeak things out, I feel very fortunate to have played as long as I did for a lot of amazing organizations.
When you look at the day in 2004, the press conference in Pine Ridge, to where you're sitting right now, does it feel like a really long journey full of ups and downs, or does it feel like it just flew by? What's your perspective there?
No, it feels like it flew by, and a lot of people that have contacted me over the course of the last 24 hours, really, that were ex-players that I've, whether I've had a really good close relationship with or lost contact with. The memories that I had in low A or in high school or in AAU ball when I was in 7th, 8th grade, those memories never leave you. And I can remember just vividly, playing in national tournaments as a youth player and amateur, and playing in, doing the showcase with the Pirates in 2004. And, so you don't forget those memories. You don't really forget those people. Sometimes you forget moments, especially over a 162 game season. Sometimes you forget certain things, but you very rarely forget people, and especially significant people that have played a role. And there's so many of those people that I've come across and feel very fortunate to have been able to learn a little or a lot from.
Neil, you talk about the people that influenced you in some way. Could you talk a little bit, please, about the people in baseball that you met in the Pirates organization and elsewhere, people like Bill Mazeroski and what that meant to your career?
Yeah, and I don't want to leave anybody out, because like I said, I was in the organization for 12 years. But yes, I think about when I changed from a catcher to a second base to an infielder to third base, and then I bounced to many multiple positions. And guys like Tom Prince and Woody Heike took me under their wing when I was an 18-year-old kid that didn't know how to wash his clothes, and I'm stuck in the old Pirate City motel down there, and just trying to figure out when I needed to go to breakfast and when I needed to go get changed and what happens in between, morning workouts and the game in the afternoon. And then you fast forward to people like Bill Mazeroski, who, could have very easily just sat on the sidelines and enjoyed his retirement and everything that he accomplished at spring training, but he didn't do that. He talked about what he thought made himself so successful, not just as an infielder, but as a teammate and as a hitter and everything combined. And, you soak all that up as a player. And some of the things that he taught me at second base were just, they helped accelerate the process much easier. And it went from trying to survive to trying to excel at the position. And, I think I did pretty well at that. And, I get to the big leagues, and obviously we had several different managers when I was there, but Clint Hurdle was such a great motivator and somebody that really kept us going and kept us working together for a common cause. And a lot of the hitting coaches that have put their staple on me, Jeff Branson, somebody that and Ray Sears, two guys that I was with basically from A ball all the way up. So like I said, I hate to forget anybody, but some of these people are just coming to my mind, and so many of them have been impactful on small levels and large levels. So, to any of them, to anybody that I've come across, thank you for everything that you've helped me with and that we've accomplished together, including yourselves in the media in Pittsburgh in particular.
Thanks.
Neil, what does it mean to you to have helped get the Pirates to the playoffs after the 20 years of losing? What does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I take great pride in that. I also feel like I was just a small piece of that, a small cog of that per se. I mean, you know, when I got to the big leagues in September of 2009, it was a tough environment. It was one that needed a lot of work, and there was a lot of pieces that were kind of thrown at the roster to try to get to that point of having that core nucleus to take us to the next level. And fast forward to 2012, when we had a really good first half and kind of fell off in the second half, we had some really good pieces there. And then all of a sudden, they did a great job of surrounding us with quality veterans. And you know, I think in 2013, middle of the season, Garrett Cole came up, and he was obviously one of the better players I've ever played with, and AJ Burnett. And I may be off base with my years, but basically, you know, the core group that we had that were there, including myself and Andrew and Starling and Polanco, you know, we knew that we had something special there, and they did such a good job of mixing and matching the right pieces, and not just the right pieces, but the right guys to buy into what we were trying to do. You know, because we weren't going to be in for the $100 million player. That was just the reality. But we knew that if we played together and we, you know, collectively as an offensive group carried out our approach and grinded out teams, and then on the offensive side, we knew that if we got to the sixth, seventh inning with a 2-3 run lead, the chances of us closing the door with who we had back there were really, really good. And that was our recipe for success of that stretch that we won a lot of baseball games. But you know, personally, I take great pride in just being a part of that whole process, and seeing it go from 100 loss year to 100 win year, basically in a course of 3-4 years.
Neil, on that note, first of all, congratulations on a great career. It's been a pleasure covering you. On that note, how much do you feel, in whatever capacity that you could be with the Pirates, that you can share some of those experiences with this group and some of the young prospects coming up that may have to endure something similar? And do you feel like that's something that you can share your experiences, and do you see some similarities?
Yeah, like I said, I you know, things as small as hitting with guys in the off season that live in the area that are minor leaguers, or guys that are playing in independent ball. I've found it really fulfilling to when I hit with those guys to you know, talk them through things and let them know to have a purpose when they're going out and doing their work, and making them understand that, you know, the work you put in is gonna reflect down the line, and you have to earn your keep in baseball. And it's such a difficult sport, and that the odds are just so stacked against you at all times of the year, that it's just one of those things that I feel like I have a great perspective on. Because like I said, I feel like I've been on good teams, I've been on in-between teams, I've been on bad teams, I've had good years, I've had in-between years, I've had terrible years. And when you do that, and you have that thought process for a long time, your thought process shifts from kind of trying to survive in the game of baseball to you know, trying to maximize your attributes and your character, and passing that along and helping guys that, because it's stressful as a rookie and as a first and second year guy, because you're just trying to survive, like I said, and you're taking at bats and you're living and dying with every hit that you can possibly get. And you're constantly looking over your shoulder at times, and, you know, pitchers, you know, a relief pitcher might go out there and throw really well, and all of a sudden he gobbles up 3 innings and throws 35 pitches and has to go back down to the minor leagues, and he hasn't done anything. So, you know, for me, I think there's, if there were a perfect role for me, I don't know, but something similar to like a special assistant role, where I could have my hand in a little bit of player development, or a hand in working with guys individually, or working with guys as a group and within the organization. Those type of things interest me a lot, because I know how impactful it was for me to learn from veterans. And you learn a lot more as a player hearing things from other players, coaches and managers. It's fantastic to get their point of view, but they have so much more on their plate. When you're hearing things from other veterans and other players that have been through so much, it makes your day-to-day much easier, because you you see what other guys go through, you know what other guys go through. And if you're prepared, you're given your best chance to succeed. And that's kind of my synopsis of baseball in a nutshell, and what I kind of live by. But you fine tune it a little bit more as time goes along. So, if I can share that in any way, shape, or form, that interests me.
Neil, what about from a broadcasting perspective? Do you have any interest in, I don't know, taking Robbie's job or going over to the TV side?
I don't think I could ever reach Robbie's level. Let's call that what it is. I mean,
No, you're correct. You're correct. You
his
cannot.
hair is always on point. His face is always freshly shaven. He's always looking good. But no, like I said, I find it natural, like I said, to talk baseball and to interact with younger players and to sit there and watch the game and analyze it. So I feel like, and I'm not discrediting any that it's easy, because I know that's not the case. But I think that it's something that could be, somewhat of a natural next step for me if we were to go down that road. And maybe there's a scenario where I jump in the booth a couple times at the end of this year or something along those lines. I don't know. These are conversations that we're going to have moving forward, and to see how I like it. And but in a nutshell, right now and in the near term, that baseball schedule per se, I've done it for almost 20 years. So I'd like to kind of get away from that to a degree. But I know that, like I said, I love watching baseball. I love talking baseball. I love talking hitting and the intricacies of everything that's involved with, especially playing infield or switch hitting or whatever that may be. So we'll see if that's something that really interests me going forward. But to this point, it's something that's very intriguing to me, and something that I'm gonna ask a lot of questions about to Bob Walk and to Greg Brown and to Robbie and all these guys that have done it for a long time.
Neil, I know you've shared a lot of your memories. Is there one that stands out above all, whether it's as a Pirate or just in your major league career? Is there one that when you think about being a major league baseball player, is there one moment in your career where you say, okay, that's my favorite? That's the moment that all the hard work paid off.
Well, it's got to be the 2013 wild card game. And I told this story earlier on the radio, just about when I think it was like mid-September, second, third week of September of 2013, we win a 1-0 game over Yu Darvish in Texas, and Garrett Cole pitched a gem, and I made the last out. I caught a grounder and threw it to first, and I asked for the ball back because we had won that was the day we won the 82nd game. That was when we knew that we weren't going past that 20-year mark of being under 500. And so, that's something that strikes home to me, because that night, that wild card night was a culmination, in my opinion, of 20 years of frustration brought into one stadium, and not just the stadium, but the people on the streets and on the bridges and all of that. And I took so much pride. Forget any individual accolade that I may have had, from a silver slugger to whatever. That moment for me was so prideful, and something that I won't forget 1 second of that entire game and that entire night, because I felt it, my family felt it, my friends felt it, my teammates felt it, and they finally understood what this city and this community, how passionate they are about their sports. And that night just brought back anybody that may have been on the fence and said, oh, this team hasn't won for a while, why am I going to back them? That year, and especially the second half of that year going into the playoffs, those people were 100% in, and they showed up in full form that night, and we played well and won, and it was just something that I'll never forget. And almost every guy that you ask, outside of some guys that have played that night or were on that team that won World Series or something along those lines, I almost guarantee they're going to bring up that night.
We take one or two more for Neil, and we can move on. A couple more, if there are any more.
Neil, your alma mater's been in the news lately. This is not relative to your retirement, but as a football alum, as a Pine Richland graduate, what has that been like for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've kept close tabs on everything that's going on over here. We obviously still live in the Pine Richland community, and my wife went to Pine Richland. We have plans for both of our children to go to Pine Richland. So it's been really tough to kind of see the things that are going on right now. And to be frank, I don't know a lot of the intricacies of it, because pieces are being kind of put out there, and both sides are somewhat speaking their mind, but they're also somewhat keeping things close to the vest. So it would be unfair for me to say anything more than I love this community. I love this. I had a tremendous education from Pine Richland. I had tremendous coaches in basketball, football, baseball. My brothers went to my one brother went to Richland High School before it came Pine Richland. So I've seen the school go from 65 kids a class to 400 plus as it is right now. And, you hope that whatever the outcome of this may be, one side or the other, that it somehow comes to a positive spin, because like you said, everything that's gone on to this point has been hard to watch, and hard to kind of wrap your mind around, just with everything that has been given. And I wish I had more information to kind of speak my mind about, but I just don't at this point. And my personal relationship with Coach Casper has been fantastic, and I go up to the high school every year to talk to the kids. So that's really all I can speak on is my own personal relationship with him. But I guess we'll see as time goes along here how this transpires. But like I said, as somebody that's lived in this community for almost 32 of my 35 years, this is such an amazing place to live, an amazing place to raise kids. And so you hope that this doesn't end up being, a huge black eye on this, on especially the football program and the sports programs in the community here.
Very good. I think that'll end it. Neil, we want to thank you as a PR staff for being a pro and doing this, and appreciate all your time here, and we'll see you down the road. Gentlemen, thank you.
You're the best, Jimmy. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thanks, Neil.
Neil.
Yeah,
Thanks, Neil.